Hello, everybody. Welcome to my weekly Meltdown's coverage of Survivor Season 40, Winners at War. I don't know about you guys, but I brought a mop with me because there's just so much like messy gameplay. We need to clean all of it up. That's how I feel about this episode.
There's definitely a cleanup on aisle 4.
On aisle 4, on
aisle 40.
Yeah.
Aisle 40.
Allison can't be with us tonight because she's in the process of moving. So best of luck to Allison. Hopefully she's with us next week. Hopefully everything goes well with that. But of course, with us, as always, is the wonderful and stunning Deb. How are you?
I'm fabulous.
Good. And of course, with us is the always intellectual Beth. How are you doing, Beth?
Being smart. No, should
well, yeah. But okay. And to fill in for Allison tonight, we have Bill from Sequester, season 3, right?
No, I was actually on the OG online version, 11.0. And
okay.
Yeah. But love being a part of the community. And this is my first time actually podcasting about Survivor. I've always done Big Brother and Sequester. So
really?
Let's
go.
go.
With us on Survivor before, but I guess I'm going crazy.
So. Maybe I don't think so. I'm a big fan of the game. I'm just not as eloquent in talking about it. So you steer the ship, and I'll be some color commentary for you.
Okay, all right.
We love that.
That's what we're here for here at my weekly Meltdown. All right, so of course, the big thing that happened tonight was Adam goes home. I don't want to say
stupid.
I don't want to say I was right, but I was right. Like when I called this, like it was just
wrong
like an
move.
Why do you think it's the wrong move now?
They could have all written down Sarah's name and got rid of her ass. Her name was out there. They should have all wrote it down.
Yeah, so let's just jump right into it then. So we're all thinking, I don't know, I kind of think that Adam is like, especially when things are so crazy, so chaotic, I think Adam is a good name for everybody to just say like, you know, we can all get behind this.
Yeah, but it's easy. That's easy.
It is easy.
Winners at War, it was easy.
It's easy, but it's not like he's not a threat. Like he clearly was a threat. He knows the game better than I would say pretty much anybody. And he's not afraid to make flashy moves as seen by tonight and as in previous moves. If you don't know what somebody's going to do, that's a question mark and that could be a threat to your game. But I agree to a certain extent. I think that they absolutely could have tried to channel him a little bit more. But I don't know how many people really feel like they needed him. So unfortunately, we see him go as the second merge boot. But I do think that he played a great game. I was just saying this to my parents upstairs because they were like, you know, we're not the biggest Adam fans. And I was like, I love Adam. I love him as a character on TV. I love him for the super fan perspective. And most of all, I love that he's one of the few reality show people who will swing for the fences and then make fun of himself for missing.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
He is very like he brings a lot of that character, which is great.
He like broke the fourth wall at one point. He was like, "I'm gonna be watching this and like laughing at myself." It was very meta, which I enjoyed.
Well, Survivor really jumped in and started, you know, throughout this entire season, having him with this dodo edit, you know, not being able to put his torch in the right slot, and getting called out for the moves that he's making, and being shooken, like being completely unsure what's happening in multiple tribals, and it all paid off right here with this idol, which is so unfortunate. It was such a letdown. But yeah, just like
I wanted it to be real.
He played to the end, and that's what we want out of players.
So I would have loved for Jeff to be like, after all that build up, to be like, this is an immunity idol.
Oh my god! Yeah, we will definitely talk about all the craziness, but
so amazing.
Yeah. So of course we have some people in the chat. I wanted to point this comment out because I think that's what Deb is kind of driving her point towards, is that like Adam could have been a goat. I just think that like I said earlier, I feel like he's an easy name to get behind, but also like who can trust Adam 100% at this point?
Right, no one can.
Nobody.
I also don't think that goats exist. Like in a season like this, do you really think the winners want to bring a goat to the end? They want it to be a war.
Right. Yeah, no,
unless your name is Wendell.
No, I want to bring a goat to the end.
Yeah,
I want to bring a goat.
I wouldn't want to. If I want to prove that I'm the best winner, if I'm going to prove that I'm the best winner and I make it to the end, I want to be up against the best and I want to best them and be like, I am the ultimate winner.
And even when there's like $2 million at stake, you would still have that.
No,
definitely.
I am taking out all the big dogs and I am dragging a fucking goat to the end.
Well, let's think about how this really happened. So clearly Adam could have had a chance, but I think it was totally cut off by the biggest components. One is Tony. Tony wants the lions and he wants to get rid of the hyenas. They even repeated that line again. Tony wants the hyenas. And the other name popping up was Sara's, and Tony's not going to let that go just yet, I don't think. So I think this is really Tony driving the ship, with Tyson also pitching. The fact that Tyson flipped on Adam here is also astonishing, and Adam's probably very upset about it because I know they're friends in real life. So this is when real life comes into Survivor, and I'm wondering how the relationship is mending right now.
Yeah, let's talk about Tony for a second, because I feel like we checked in with him a lot where we kind of didn't need to, which I thought was really interesting. So of course, as soon as Nick and Michelle come back from the blindsided vote, Nick's like, I'm gonna blow their shit up, I'm gonna do all this crazy shit and he's like, I don't care, I'm going home anyway. And I'm like, first of all, a terrible game player, but who do we see go and do that damage control to Nick and to Michelle first? It was Tony. And then Tony does more damage control later in the episode with Sara. He keeps her in check and says, yes, you thought of this as a humane moment to give this reward to Nick, but now I bet everybody is talking about you and saying that it's not just an act of kindness, it's a game move. And then what happens? We cut right to the camp of Denise saying, out of the warmness
game move.
See, that's why they should have all written Sarah's name down. Had the opportunity, they should have done.
Well, Deb, I think you're seeing that as you're really rooting for Adam. We get that. But I think
I do love Adam. But
for the group, for the contestants themselves, Sarah's name's all over the place. Great. Let her name continue to be all over the place. We need to just eventually pick off Adam here. And Sara might be next on the chopping block. They're building up this category of hyenas, plus now the names that are drifting. And so with Sarah's name drifting, plus Michelle and Nick still out there, it was just pushing Sara towards that list of potential next to go. So she's on there, but I don't know if it was right for everyone to take her out right now.
Yeah.
And the one name that did pop up was Tyson a little bit. Mm-hmm. And why that didn't gain any speed, I don't know why, because
of Jeremy.
He's a beast.
I'll be honest, Jeremy did learn from his mistakes from the last episode where he was the one pushing things and he let people come to him, and he played Godfather tonight. He sat there on that little makeshift bench and let people come to him, and at Tribal Council, whether it was because he was in the middle or not, people still came to him. He played it cool as a cucumber, and he deserves major props for that. He kept the target off of the people he feels like would be great meat shields, as we know that's how Jeremy likes to play. And just because I want to do a nice little fan thwart for my girl Denise, Jeremy and Denise were the only two people I didn't hear their names at all this episode pop up. And they were the two that won immunity last week. Denise got a fire token. We did check in with Denise a couple of times.
Yes.
I'm just saying, great episode for the two of them. This is exactly what we needed to see from both of them after winning the first.
Speaking of fire tokens, Michelle bought that advantage, that 50-50 advantage for 4 fire tokens. That was stupid.
All right, well, we're jumping all over the place here.
I'm sorry, I had to just bring that up.
No, it's okay. I have so many. I have a whole page of notes of thoughts from this, just and us just bouncing all around. I feel like we're the actual survivors of season 14.
Gosh, yes.
It was insane.
So let's talk about what do we want to talk about first? Let's talk about Jeremy, since we were kind of on that topic first. I feel like Jeremy and Denise have gotten themselves in that sweet spot between the lions and the hyenas. They have done big things to make themselves stand out as somebody that can win because they're a quote unquote strong player, whatever that means. It's really just relative to whoever's playing. But they're also not number 1, number 2 at that list. We still have Tony at the front there. We have Tyson, who came back from Edge of Extinction. And then with the hyenas, I feel like they're not on the bottom of that hyenas list either. But they can still relate to these two. So I totally agree, Beth, that they really played this round like the best they could, really. And let's not forget, Jeremy still has his advantage where he can dip out of tribal. He's held on to that for a very,
and it's
very
only
long
good until the next tribal council. This next tribal council is the last one. It'll be final 10. So
so do we think Jeremy should just use it at the next tribal or no?
I think that he needs to see if it makes sense for him, because he's in such he's a great social player. That's what he mostly brings to the game, while he can bring physical things. Yeah. If he were to inspire any kind of disloyalty by thinking like having people go, oh my gosh, I can't believe you didn't trust us and that you had to get up and go and you ruined our vote plan because you didn't disclose this ahead of time. If he tells his alliances, I'm going to play this, don't count me for a vote, then sure, go ahead, play it. Yeah. If he doesn't tell them, that could be a huge backlash for him in the next episode.
I think his best move with that is to give it to someone else to play.
That's a great idea, Deb.
I like that.
I agree.
Who do you think he would give it to?
Someone who he thought that, that's in his alliance that he think that may be in danger.
Maybe he returns the favor to Denise, for like saving him with that idol.
Yeah, or someone he wants to put a target on.
He's got to win immunity.
Would do that for Denise, but I also don't know. Like, that would be a good way to make sure. Like, Denise does this thing where she makes a big move and then she just goes to the background and like nobody thinks of her. So this would be a great way to put the target back on her, but save her, like pretend like it was out of loyalty. So I could see that. I could also see this being a really good opportunity for him to save one of the two other lions, like Tony or Tyson.
Put their name out there and then give it to them.
Right.
So your name's out there. I'm going to give this to you.
Well, I feel like go ahead, Bill. Sorry.
Well, I just think Jeremy needs to start building something of his own here. Like, who is he really like? Who are his number 1 and 2? Like, sure, Denise saved him. Yeah. So I really think like next week, if he went, like, he or Denise have to win immunity in order, like, you can't just give her the thing. You have to have immunity first, because remember, it's played before the votes are cast. So you can't just give her the immunity. Then everyone's saying, oh, Jeremy, okay, I just see what you did. We're writing your name down now. Like, that's a very dangerous play.
But if you gave it to her before tribal council, not in front of other people,
then that would be fair. Then I think that's fair game if you can get away with it, as long as you know that you're not next.
Well, as long as you A, are confident in the vote, and B, can also say like, Denise, I know that you were down to vote out Sandra last time somebody approached you with an advantage, but we got to work together because we're big targets. That might be a way to keep her quiet. I think that Denise is actually pretty good at keeping secrets. I mean, everybody was sucked at keeping secrets this episode. But I think that she's somebody that will keep her mouth shut out of loyalty, but isn't afraid if she feels like she's in danger to throw you under the bus too.
So let's talk about here, since we're kind of like talking about like advantages and stuff, let's talk about the big purchase of tonight's episode. Michelle is no longer Michael Bloomberg on Survivor Party. But I have a question. So we saw like Parvati and Danny, they were like, let's make it 4 fire tokens so are they determining how much this advantage is worth?
Yeah, they did. They were allowed to.
Yeah.
Yep, that was the whole point of it, is that they had to set it for whatever cost they wanted. And then they said, well, we're trying to get food for Edge of Extinction, so let's make it a high cost.
Yeah.
It was totally not worth that much.
I don't think so either.
Not worth it. It's 50-50.
If it's 50-50, you pay 2 fire tokens. 1 for yes, 1 for no. Like, that's
right.
it.
Exactly.
I would not have done 4. I literally would have looked at that and said, I hope that something better comes along.
Can you send like a parchment back with like a counter offer?
Exactly.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah. 2 question mark, you up? I mean, I think it's like way too much for like a 50-50 shot. I think that like
buy an idol for that?
She could, I think, right?
I don't think you can buy them in the game. You can only buy them on Extinction.
Edge of Extinction.
Okay.
Yeah.
For yourself to go back into the game.
I think that she was just kind of enticed by like the fortune cookie that she got in the Chinese takeout. I wrote it down what it said. As the purse is emptied, which I guess purse now means fire tokens because that shit is empty now. As the purse is emptied, the heart is filled. Don't be afraid to take that big step. The question is that 50-50 idol the big step? Probably not, right?
I mean, but let's put ourselves in her shoes, to be fair, okay? You're starving, you're tired, blah, 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 blah. You're somebody who you wanted to go out, but you knew was kind of on your side. Wendell just left, okay? You feel like you're at the bottom of the totem pole. You were left out of the vote, and you are dying for some kind of safety in this game.
Yeah.
You're presented with a 50-50 chance, okay? That's better than trying to win immunity if you feel like you're at the bottom of the totem pole when you have 1 out of an 11 chance. Yeah. So I can see why she would go for it. I just don't think it was the right move. And if we learned anything from Island of the Idols, is that you don't take the first thing that's offered to you.
That's my whole thing. That it's like you never know. Like if next week, Parvati could find another advantage and sell it to Michelle for 1 fire token. She can't do that because she has none. What if they do a Survivor auction next week and anyone with a fire token can bid on a full idol? Like that's certainly something that could happen too.
Exactly.
I just I
not a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, no. So hopefully it pays off for her. I think it will, just based on like how the edit is like treating Michelle this season. I feel like it's going to. They could easily make something like that with like Dodo music. They could turn it into something like, oh, I can't believe she's like falling for this. Yeah, but
Michelle now that Adam's out of the game.
Well, you were talking about the edit, right? So I was thinking about the idea that Michelle was pretty much left out of last week's episode where she was blindsided. So it took away like a negative experience that she had in the game, and it maybe was covered up a little bit. But and so I was like, oh, maybe that's something. But we came right back to it, and then Michelle was pretty much the first narrator of this episode, and so I wasn't sure if that was a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good edit-wise to like check in with their perspective about things that like they're not necessarily the ringleaders of. That's why I think like Tony was in such a good light tonight, because it really, we saw even after Kim wins her first immunity of the season, like before we cut to commercial break, we get Tony talking about the lions in hyenas. Like I don't know like why we needed to hear that from him, but
I just think that though. Oh, go ahead, Deb. Go ahead.
But that whole concept of the lions and the hyenas, I mean, if he was smart, he would be, playing both sides and taking off the lions, taking them out. Keep those fucking hyenas.
I get what he's saying, though, because, like, the whole, like, Spencer Bledsoe saying, like, if you keep, like, so many goats around, like, they're eventually going to take your seats at the end kind of mentality. So I think it's just difficult to find that balance, right? And you just have to keep checking in with your quote unquote lions. That's
why you take one out, one at a time.
Yeah,
one lion,
exactly.
One lion, one hyena, and then you're in the middle. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Tony did in Cagayan to get himself the win. Like he really bounced back and forth between taking out one person from this alliance, betraying somebody in my alliance the next week. Because of Trish. Yes.
Sorry.
Totally agree.
I would say don't sleep on the hyenas. I mean, think about the Lion King. They were behind that whole thing that got all the wildebeest down into the cave and killed Mufasa. Spoiler alert. So, like, don't ever count out the hyenas. Ever.
I know that we've been talking a lot about edit. Adam got a hell of an edit. Whether he had good at it, he had bad at it, he had all this in between. It was a roller coaster. I'm gonna come back to this. I don't think we can always 100% rely on the edit when it comes to this season, especially because each person who has won with a very different edit from any other person, right? And it's really interesting to me how many people won and who had edits that led them to feel like they were going to win, and it wasn't really a surprise for the rest of us when they won, versus people who won and we kind of figured they could stand a really good chance if they won, but like edit wise, we were like, wow, like Michelle is one of those people for me. Denise is one of those people for me. Adam, to a certain extent, was one of those people. Nick, Sophie had like no confessionals when she was on South Pacific. So those are the kind of people, and like Sophie's getting a great edit this time. And is it because she's just providing the best content that they want to put into an episode? Maybe. Or is it because the editors want to set her up for a win? Maybe. Like, I think that the editors are smart and they know Edgic and people are out there that do these things. And while they tried to do some really blatant, like, oh, look over here, it's actually happening over here, and we kind of get that, I think they've done a pretty good job of confusing us with edits so far.
It's really hard with Edge of Extinction to Too edgic.
Yeah, and not only that, but to like keep the legacy of like all of these winners intact. I was so happy that we got to see some of Kim Spradlin's perspective tonight, because I feel like we have been robbed of that so far this season. So of course, like, she wins the challenge. I really love that challenge. It reminded me of Cambodia when they did that, and they had the reward out in the water, and Spencer and Fishback jumped out for it. I was hoping they would do that there, but that's okay. But yeah, I really love that challenge. I'm glad that Kim won, because we've seen in Secret Scenes that she's really been having like an emotional struggle this season with being away from her kids. I feel like her heart hasn't been in it this season. And so I feel like this was a really good turning point for Kim to kind of turn her game back on, bring back that one world like scrap that we saw in her. She won the immunity. As soon as they got back to camp, she was the one to kind of rally this like
exactly. We saw her in her seat where she's comfortable, which is I'm safe and I'm gonna run shit. Yes. And she did it in like a queen. I'm so happy for her.
Oh yeah, and I love like this. There's been a few like huge like women power like moments in this in this whole season. With Denise slaying Sandra, and then this big battle here of Kim versus Ben, and Ben's like outstretched, and you almost never see Ben with his shirt off. He's outstretched, and he's like looking
doing kung fu.
Yeah, he's looking super cocky. And then you have Kim there, and Kim's just like in meditation mode, talking to herself, like, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. And then what happens? You better get ready.
Oh, can we right? I have that in my notes twice tonight. I'm like, can we not with this music?
Okay. Spoiler alert for the RHAP. Not spoiler alert thing, but for the RHAP mini. Did you do this too? So Bill was also one of the mods, and I think Bill did it, and then I responded with it. Bill, why don't you tell them what you did to your room before we started the show? Oh,
just halfway before the game started, like a half hour before, I just looked up on my my phone the Prope song that he claims to have created. You better get ready, they're coming for you. And I played like the whole theme song into the microphone, and Aman and Meech were in my room, and they just went like, oh my gosh, this is real, because you're waiting there and it's so intense. And then I put that on, and it really like turned it up to 11 for them. How did it work in your room, Beth? I know, because you followed suit.
I followed suit, but I said, I'm not going to play it. I'm going to sing it to them in a creepy way. So I just got on, and I brought up my microphone real close, and I popped into the room, and I, you better be ready.
I hate it so much.
And it was so funny because I had Mike Bloom, Melissa, Puya, and Jenny in there, and Puya literally went, ah! And I was laughing. Mike Bloom literally went, it was a great way, and then they all laugh because obviously they get it. But
But the reason I brought that up is just because that happened when Kim won. I'm like, okay, Kim is maybe like Tyler just said, it's the turnaround. Here we go. Like it happened for Tyson. Now it's happening for Kim. Maybe they're going to start building some power.
I would love for that to be the case. Like, I wrote in my notes, I said, Kim Spradlin winning individual immunity. It feels good. Like that's how I felt. I was like, oh my gosh, like she is like back in the game, like back in the saddle. And like you said, Beth, she was the one to initially call out the plan of splitting the votes between Nick and Adam. What's the plan that ended up happening? Even after all of these like bullshit shenanigans that went around, it was Kim's plan. And let's not forget, she's also sitting on an idol that she's had for like 20 days now or something like that.
Yes.
The power
Sophie's the one who knows about it. Sophie also has an idol. We haven't really seen Sophie and Kim check in at all. And I'm interested to see how that works. We haven't heard much about Sarah's steal a vote. And now Denise, I think, has the most fire tokens. She has 2. Does anybody else have 2?
That's in the game? No, I don't know.
I don't know.
So if you look at all the women who are left in the game,
might have 2.
Nick, okay.
Yep.
But if you look at the collective power of the women, like Michelle has her flip a vote advantage, Denise has 2 fire tokens, and then all the other women have some advantage.
Yeah.
What do the men have besides Nick having potentially 2?
They have nothing.
And there's
Kim.
Bag of tricks.
Does Kim know about Sophie's idol?
We don't know that for sure, but I would imagine no. I think
I don't think so.
Between Sara and Sophie.
Yeah. Allison just wrote, closed on my house, bad weather, interrupted Survivor, missed everything. So congrats, Allison, on your house closing. We are very happy for you. Okay, so let's talk about Nick, because I have some thoughts about how terrible he played this episode. So, of course, we saw he was very reactive to being in this blindside. Always not a good look when you're like, oh, I'm gonna like blow shit up. I'm gonna like go like tell them off. Like, I don't care. I'm going home anyway. Like, it's just really sloppy gameplay. But also, like, instead he should be asking himself how did he get himself in this situation, right? It's because he voted out Yul instead of Michelle 2 weeks ago. If he kept Yul around, went into the merge with that alliance still intact of him, Wendell, Sophie, and Yul, they would be running shit, and he would not be sitting here like super upset, pitching a fit because he didn't get his way. I feel like we're on like a downward spiral for Nick. Like, he was just all over the place tonight, like so sloppy, but he's not asking himself like, why did I get myself here? How did I get myself in this situation?
Right.
And he jumped in, like the first thing he did after the immunity challenge, I believe this happened right after the immunity challenge, is he starts telling Tyson, who's one of the most social players you'll ever meet in your entire life in the game and in person, tells him that he says that Sophie dropped his name. And Sophie, who is one of the most cerebral players in the game, you're really going to tell, it just blew my mind that those are the two names he picked just to try to stir the pot. And I am thinking this is going to be his. They're going to, sign his death warrant on this one. It's coming up. It's going to bite him later.
Away with it, though. I mean, like
Almost.
Tyson got paranoid by it and brought up Sophie's name to Adam and Jeremy, and Adam was the one that said, "I think we need to do Sara over Sophie if we're going to do that." And that's how Sarah's name got thrown into it. And Sophie wasn't pitched again after that. But I do. I think that was a good move. It was something that I think that Boston Rob and Parvati pulled to try to target Adam before the first tribe swap, to a certain extent. And I just don't I love Nick. I just don't think he has the finesse to pull off what Boston Rob does.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's coming off.
I'll tell you what it reminds me of, Beth. So it reminds me of, and I keep talking about Survivor Cambodia tonight, but it reminds me of Sierra Easton when the people started targeting the 3 witches in Survivor Cambodia. And Sierra at Tribal, she's like, people need to make a big move. We need to shake things up. Like, stop. Like,
are we gonna play?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Nick's pitch was at this Tribal. He said, everyone's afraid to say a name or shake things up. This is the saddest war I've ever seen. Like, there is great gameplay going on, Nick. It's just not involving you because you have totally misplayed.
I would rather leave that chaos in the game and vote out somebody big, a big name. Leave that chaos in there because it's like a shield for you.
Yeah. So, Deb,
always going to be a target.
Who would you be targeting here, Sara?
Oh no, I would have taken Tyson out.
Tyson?
Oh, absolutely.
Because let's be honest, guys, at the end of the day, besides the fact that Tyson in himself is already a big target, he also has all of his friends on the jury. You gotta get rid of him.
Yeah, I would be surprised if Tyson is like a revolving door next week. Like, we really didn't hear much from him at all tonight, except for this whole I'm gonna stir chaos. And he was like, I'm not used to that. I like being in control in Survivor. I was like, says the Tyson that voted himself out in Heroes versus Villains because he wanted to be chaotic. I'm like, okay, sure.
Tyson who was a coconut bandit in Blood versus Water, creating chaos.
Yeah.
But the fact that he won his way back from Edge of Extinction and nobody is talking about getting him back the hell out of the game, what are they doing?
I think there's a part of them that have seen the optics of when everybody came back from EOE and there was all the old school players. I think there's a part of them that is saying we can't optically do this. Mm-hmm. And here's the reason why. I would love to think that's not the case. Okay. And I'm not at all suggesting that this is on equal terms. But you see this with Sequester minis where there's one woman and 18 men and nobody wants to vote out the woman first because then you're a misogynist. So you have those moments, which by the way, you're not a misogynist if you vote out necessarily. You might be. But you might be. But I do think that there's a portion of that that's like, we could use Tyson. Tyson's got votes on the old school tribe. Tyson's got these things that if I can get in with him, he's a great player. He needs people, those kind of things. There's a part of him that's thinking optically about how that could progress their game and also make, how do they look by having.
Well, I want to counter you as far as optics go. Isn't there also the other side of the optics in that, hey, someone just won the game after coming back from playing it 9 days from Edge of Extinction, and they won, and the season is hated. The winner is hated. This would never happen again. Let's drag Tyson because they're not going to do that to the Survivor fandom a second time.
That's a very good point. My only counter to that, Bill, is, this is a season that has like so many parents on it. So I feel like if Tyson gets to the end, he gets emotional, like we see him do in confessional about like, oh, I'm doing this for my children. And I think it's going to pull into
confessional, Tyler. He did it in front of everybody with Probst last week. When
that's true. You're right.
With like one-on-one conversations, like with Sara in the very first episode.
It's happened so many times that I'm like forgetting like the environment that it's in.
Good reason to take him out.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Do not leave him in the game.
Yeah. Well, who knows? No. I mean, with all these idols left, and we saw somebody asked earlier, like, is there a merge idol? I don't think that there's one in play to be found right now because Kim's still sitting on hers. Sophie's still sitting on hers. Maybe they're waiting for another one to be sold that's found on Edge of Extinction, is my guess.
What if the Fleur de Lis and Tribal Council just isn't activated yet and they remove the nail next episode?
Oh my God, that's so awkward.
I would love for Jeff. Jeff Probst was like, all right, guys, so that was a really great idea. So why don't we make it active for the next time? And then nobody's going to get it.
Adam's going to jump off the cliff if that.
Don't tell Adam.
Adam will storm it and be like, if I grab this now, I just automatically get back in the game.
So before we get back to talking about the tribal, let's talk lastly about Sarah's decision to give Nick her reward for his birthday. We touched on it a little bit, but I just thought it was so interesting how it's almost to me kind of foreshadowing that like maybe the reason that Sara loses this season is because she's not thinking about how other people perceive her, even when she's being like totally innocent. Like this is just like a humanity thing. She says in confessional, like this is not any like strategic move. It's not until Tony points out to her and says like, listen, you may believe that to be true, you may know that to be true, but I bet you all these people are talking about you back at camp right now. And it was Adam, it was Jeremy, it was Kim, like all these people around. So
and that's why her name was out there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, the second she verbally said, I can't remember, maybe to Tony, it wasn't a bad move. Right up until that point, I was getting her benefit of the doubt, but then she called it in the realm of a move, and I'm like, then she has to understand this is big oops.
Yeah, I'm interested to see, like, I could see Sara going soon. And the reason why is because I think people are now becoming more aware of who is connected to who. She is very well connected to Sara. Sophie. She's very well connected to Tony, and she's very well connected to, oh my God. What's his name?
Tyson.
No, Tony.
No. I said Tony. Ben.
Ben.
So she has
trying to forget about him.
He
is like working my nerves.
And let's split up Ben and Sara. Let's split up Sophie and Sara. Let's split up Tony and Sara. Like, who's the common denominator there? Sara. And she's going to have nowhere to hide, even though she's got all these people that are supposedly in front of her. You better believe that Ben and Tony and Sophie will go, oh, it's her or me? Okay, Sarah's going. Like, they will do that. They're all cutthroat enough to they'll try to do what they can to save her. But if they feel like their asses on the line are going to get dragged down because of her, they will cut her loose.
I think Sarah's success in this game will really depend on how her relationship with Sophie ends up playing out. I feel like Sophie is like her into like all these other people on the other like side of things. And without that connection, like say like Sophie goes soon, I feel like Sara is like solely in the Tony camp and has to ride Cops Are Us until the bitter end. Like whether or not it
bitter end with Tony.
I don't think so, but like who else is going to take her there? Like everybody says like Sara is like not really an underrated winner anymore. Like people were saying tonight that she is an amazing, dangerous, scary, good player. I just don't think that they let her get that far unless it's with another big target like Tony.
Right.
I think Tony. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying something in the chat. You make your point first.
Oh, I was going to say that I think Tony. I think where he's going to fail is I think he's just going to try too hard. Like we saw that Cops Are Us thing, and I think that's for a reason earlier. Like I feel like this. I think it's going to eventually get Tony in trouble. I think it's going to get Tony in trouble. I think that Tony's going to not go as far as to defend her by giving her an idol, because I think he's more an individual player. But I think this connection here, I think he's going to mess up verbally, and he's going to say something that's going to trip, like that's going to try to save her, and it's not going to be what people want, and then that's going to put him on next coming up boot list. I think she's going to be his downfall.
Yeah,
we'll see. Sarah's definitely one to keep a lookout for. I don't know. Tonight's like my first night in the season where I've been like, Sara, not the best performance tonight. So yeah. We'll see.
I think the last person that we haven't spoken about is Ben. We kind of talked a little bit about Ben and such, but he's in a very. I last week said I thought Ben was going to go. I did a shot in the dark, and then I was like, oh man, he's going to win immunity, but then he didn't win immunity. And that whole tiff with Ben and Adam, both before and during Tribal Council, I had a moment of like, am I about to be Nostradamus? Is Ben actually going to go out of nowhere and we weren't going to see that coming? But he's a very interesting character in this final 11, final 10 now. He's very under the radar, which was not at all how he played in HHH. Yeah. But he also is not an under the radar personality. And the whole like jury like cracked up laughing when Adam called him sensitive, because I think that is something that is just noted about him. He's a sensitive person. And so I think that it's a really interesting personality to have. Do people fully trust him? We keep hearing that Sara and Ben are really close, but does he really have anybody else, or is he just being used as a number?
That's exactly what I think it is, Beth. I think like if people see him as a valuable number, people see him as somebody that probably won't win this game. If there's any GOAT in this game, I think it's Ben because of his win in HHH. Bill, what do you think?
Oh, man. Guys, I know you guys hate on Ben so much. Okay, so here's what I like about what Ben's doing. Ben is doing something very similar to what Jessica did season 3 of Sequester. When she entered a room, she had all the information and she was intentional with her conversations and aggressive. That's why Jess got so far, because everyone knew that she knew everything and no one was going to call her out. Ben is doing the same thing. Ben tends to have all of the information. He tells that person's voting that way. That person's, who is that person? He has all the information and he's very intentional with it and he's keeping it sorted. So once Boston Rob was gone, I think Ben really is coming to his own a little bit and I am enjoying watching his path.
I have to agree. That's why I said I think he's playing a really well under the radar game, even though he doesn't have an under the radar personality. Like Jess has a very under the radar personality, where she quote unquote appears passive, but she's really not. Ben does not appear passive in any way. He's a very dominant personality. And so that's why I think it's a very interesting. He's so interesting for me to watch right now. I don't know where he's at. Like, I'm very interested to see, will he be taken to the end or will he be the next like GOAT, tragedy?
Yeah. I think that we're giving
because he's loyal to a fault and that's his problem.
I think that we're giving Ben a little too much credit here. I think that he acts without thinking, and then like later when he's like retelling like what's happening in confession, I think that's when he's like, I wanted to use this information, so I cornered this person, then I did this. We've seen him like super sloppy with information, even from like the premiere episode with saying that he was targeting Boss and Rob, and then Rob's like, did you say my name? And Ben's like, oh, everybody's saying your name, Rob. And of course, like we saw him do that to Adam tonight. So that was a really interesting full circle moment where he was in that driver's seat. And we saw Adam kind of flunder there too. I don't know. I think that Ben is trying to be like the new Boston Rob, and I don't think it's going to work out for him.
It's not going to work.
Tyler, would it help you, Tyler, knowing that Ben was, I don't know if you like, Ben was an actual like real super fan before he was cast, but that storyline was never given to him because of all the other background storylines he has. I had a chance. I was lucky enough. I mean, technically, I'm in the Poker Alliance. I got to hang out in Reno with these guys, and I was there at the same time as they were. So with Tyson, Adam, and Ben, I actually was in a conversation with them and Rob Sesternino and got to tell them what Sequester was for the first time, which was really cool. But I got to hang out with Ben, and Ben was, super charming, but also super humble. Like, he isn't crazy. He was laid back, sitting back, having a beer, whatever, and just talking about how he used to be like, the guy that sat on the couch drinking his beer, watching the show, and just like imagining what it'd be like. And then he was, but he said that part was never like really put out there for the media to grasp onto. So whereas Adam gets all this love and endearment from the fans because he was the super fan, Ben doesn't get that.
Right. I'm also interested to see who Ben voted for, because I have a feeling that they put the plan onto Adam while he was putting Adam on blast. And I think that, to Tyler's point about him being a reactive person, I think that he unintentionally got his quote unquote ally voted out. Like, I think he wanted to confront Adam, but I don't think that he actually had planned to vote him out. So I want to know who voted for Nick.
I just checked the wiki; it's not up yet.
Yeah, okay. They really put it out, I think, the next day, but I could be wrong. So I'm very interested to see who voted for Nick and who voted for Adam, because I have a feeling that everybody who was standing up, those 5 people who were standing up talking to each other while the 2 of them were fighting, were the people who voted for Adam, which means that I think it was Denise, Ben, and Adam No, not Adam. Adam voted for Sara. Denise, Ben, and Kim, or whoever else was sitting, might have voted for Nick. I don't really.
We really need to start handing out popcorn when they start fighting like that.
Well, I think that this live tribal got a little too much. I think it should have been reeled in a lot sooner than it did. I did not like Adam and Ben going at it, and Kim Spradlin had this look of like, oh, we're allowed to whisper now. So that was funny to me.
Old school.
But I didn't like it. Like, and Ben is like, he kind of reminds me of like the Rick Devens type, where like it's just like all these like theatrics at tribal council is, to me, what won him over the jury. Out of like anything that he did his season, he was very live, very like putting on a show, especially for this season where the people are hanging out at Ponderosa. They're sitting on edge of extinction. Like, this is the highlight of like their past 3 days.
Watching TV.
Watching him and Adam like go back and forth while everybody else is like actually playing the game.
I loved Rob's comment about needing, whoever gets voted off is going to need some serious therapy on the edge.
Very true. Adam's going to be going through it for a while.
But that to me is why I'm not crazy about Ben, is because like I feel like his gameplay and strategy is very loose and like just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks, like up until tribal, and then tribal is like it's almost like the Mike Holloway type of winner too, where he just like blows shit up at these tribal councils. And I'm not a big fan of like these like theatrical players.
With Mike Holloway's cast, wouldn't you also want to explode all the time because you were stuck with Rodney and Dan for so long?
That is totally fair.
And Tyler, you have a history of really disliking flamboyant players. You do not like flamboyant players at all.
No,
I've
will be the
written
first
that down as a note before. Tyler does not like flamboyant players.
No, because it scared, as a player, like it would scare the fuck out of me. Like I would be like, get this chaos out of the game. That's why I don't like a player like Tony.
I like the chaos in the game.
It's good TV, but it's not good for me getting to the end because I can't rely on that person.
Right.
So of course, like, after like all of that goes down, we have these awkward crickets, which was like the funniest thing I think I've ever seen on Survivor. Like,
I was paired with Adam's faces, and it was great. All right, I guess we're done.
That's how it is. That's how it is.
So cringy. Yeah, like that's how it is. But like, I love that the editors like kept that in for us to see.
So good.
It's just like the editors had so much
fun.
on
a little bit longer.
It let the audience almost like break that wall. Like we got to almost feel really what I believe it probably felt like for Adam at that moment. And anyone that plays these online reality games or anyone who watches live feeds of Big Brother know that when you're up and you have the plague and people don't talk to you, people don't speak to you, people don't look at you in the eye, and that was just that perfect moment that encapsulated all of those things that a player feels when they know it's their time to go.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that Adam should have just, if he knew it was him, do the throw anything at the wall and see what sticks thing? If he knows that it's so, if you're Adam, why don't you just stand up? If you stand up and you go, Sarah's with Ben and Sarah's with Sophie and Sarah's with Tony. Clearly. Okay. These two are together. Everyone's just going to Jeremy. Nobody's talking to Denise. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, like, go ape shit and just see because if you spark a fight or an argument, you can't get any lower than you're already at. So why not try to make something else happen and then publicly state who you're voting for?
Exactly.
And stick to that.
No, because I think he even said that
nothing to lose.
He felt like that idol was a real thing, and I think more and more so he convinced himself. Once he got that idea in his head, it started growing and growing, and I think he convinced himself that was an idol
for the vote.
But he can't ask Jeff if it's real before the vote. But I mean, I see what you're saying.
I think Bill's really onto something here. I think like the story of Adam this season is him getting his mind like stuck on something and not being able to look past it, right? Like we saw him saying in confessional, I am so certain that Sara has the idol, and I've never been more certain of something in my Survivor career. And it's wrong. We saw him like totally sure about this idol tonight, and Jeff totally made a fool out of him. He literally had him like get on his knees and like try to like yank it off of the podium.
I like that he's going, it's not real. Is it real? Is this a thing?
He's like, you want to play that?
Yeah.
That's what you want to play?
You guys don't even realize I was ready. I had a cat sleeping on me. I was about to throw that cat off me if it came back that was actually a hidden immunity idol.
I was messaging Deb. I'm like, this has to be real. Be real. Be real.
I wish it was real.
I mean, at that point,
if
I were Jeff, I'd be thinking, this would be great TV. I'm just gonna like change the rules and say this is an idol, just to like.
I would go Jeff afterwards to be like, is your shoe an idol? Is your shirt an idol? Right. What about your watch?
Compliments to Jeff for like the way that he responded when Adam did it, when he was announcing whether it was false or not. Like really, he's like, you really think I would just have it here in the middle of everything on Winners at War? Like Jeff really built it up like there was a chance. There was a chance. And we all got
making him
never been done before. He said it like that. We've never done this before. It's never been in the middle of tribal, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh my God, it's gonna be a fucking idol.
Jeff did a good job.
Alrighty, so let's crack open the bracket. So first we'll do the winner take all bracket. Allison wanted me to post this one first because it's been a while, but I finally lost my second person. It had to happen sometime, I guess. I can't have all four of the winners. So Adam unfortunately went home. So Allison is in the lead, but I think we could have some people not far behind from Allison's side coming up next.
I think Allison's going to lose somebody next week.
Who do you think is going to go next week?
Sara.
I think so too. Although here's the thing, they try to make you think something in the preview, and then it's not that at all. So they try to make it seem like Sarah's going to be targeted next week.
It's always a red
they're talking
herring.
about Sara and Sophie.
Right. So that's why I'm just going to keep saying Ben until it's actually Ben.
I think it could be Nick. I feel like I think Nick's storyline is kind of over. He tried to be chaotic. He didn't go home, but I think he still knows that he's next.
I wouldn't vote his ass out.
I think it's going to be Tyson next. I think that if his return was something to really keep it in your mind as this like heroic like feat, I think we would have seen his perspective a lot more tonight. I think it's going to be an easy vote for people to get behind. So the next bracket we have is Beth and Aya. So Beth got a little bit of a lead tonight, so she is back in the driver's seat here.
Can we talk about this? Was all thanks to Denise and Kim once again. But oh my god, yeah, and Kim killed it for me in this episode because she picked a team that won a reward.
Yeah.
And then also won immunity, and then Denise got a fire token. I'm just like, I'm here for this.
Yeah. I still think that I have the winner ultimately. I think that Michelle could be the winner on your team, but I think it's like between like Sophie and I think that there is some winner upside to Sara still, even though she made like a move tonight. I think it could still happen.
I'm interested to see if Adam, for some reason, is the person that comes back from EOE. Then I will be convinced about the edits, but that's not for a few times.
Well, I have some inside scoop. Are you ready? No, there's no spoilers though.
Okay.
It's 100%,
like, yes.
Just another thing to think about. 100% fan fiction currently. So after the show and everything, Adam put out a YouTube series through like this poker group called the Thirst Lounge, and he went around from city to city with his this guy Matt, formerly known as Snide Snidington, who I used to podcast with on Rob as a podcast during Big Brother 14. And so I know Matt and Adam, so they went on this trip, and every city they went to, they flipped a coin. One side was they get $500 to spend a piece a night, and one side was they get to spend $50 a night or something like that. Well, I mean, it's a 50-50 chance. It's the flip of a coin, and I'm wondering, does this coin come back to help Adam?
Oh, interesting.
Is that where he got the idea to call it the coin flip trip?
I like this theory. I like this theory, Bill. The two thumbs up.
Intriguing.
Thank you.
The thing with these advantages before we go, people need to start playing them soon, or else Sari is somehow going to get voted out of season 40. So let's hope that doesn't happen again. I just feel like it's going to be like Jeremy plays his thing. Sarah's going to play her vote steal, and then Kim's going to play her idol, and Sophie's going to play her idol, and then Jeff's going to be like, all right, Suri, time for you to go. I think that's what's going to happen. So
Suri.
It's always going to be Suri.
We're starting to see different characters have more time. Like we saw Tony have like the funny stuff in the beginning, but now we're starting to see him get strategic. We're starting to
aggressive.
See aggressive, yeah. And we're starting to see Denise come out of the woodwork. We're starting to see Jeremy play the social kingpin role that he really wasn't doing as much of a pre-merge. So we're seeing different characters have their different impacts in the game. Yeah. So I'm really excited to see what every episode brings, just based off of who's being focused on.
Yeah, I think we're really coming down the home stretch here, and it's really exciting. And honestly, like to me, there's not like a clear cut like winner. You know, there's like say what you will about last season, like it was written all over the wall that Tommy was going to win the entire time, and it was not very fun to watch. But this, like, I could see a case for
why it wasn't fun to watch.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I could see a case for Michelle winning. I could see a case for Denise winning. I could see a case for Tony winning. I could see a case for Sophie winning. I could see a case for Sara winning.
Tyson.
I could see a case for Natalie Anderson winning.
I love Natalie. Wait, you didn't see a case for Chris Underwood winning?
No. He wins another one.
Really big
now there's precedence.
A really big case.
I definitely saw a case. Thank you for that case.
It was.
Oh, is that your winner pick?
That was Deb's winner pick.
It's because he has a big bulge. That's why.
Yes.
Come on now. Did you see that?
Deb's like, woohoo.
That's the opposite of Chris Underwood.
Yeah. All right. Well, we made our guesses for next week, so we will see. Hopefully, Tyson goes so that Allison can wear her poop hat next week when she returns. So that'll be fun too.
Which, by the way, were you supposed to wear your poop hat today?
I had checked the
Yes.
footage. We did not agree to that. It was only one-sided.
I thought we
checked
agreed
the
that you take a
footage.
shit on your head because
I
you
checked
didn't
the
have a
footage.
poop.
I have nothing but time right now. I checked.
All right, well, we got time. Go put it on.
No, it's back in Astoria. I don't even have it with me, to be honest. And Matt says he's not giving up on Yule. I don't think anybody should give up on Yule. He's definitely still in there too. All right. With that being said, you can find me on Twitter at tlyons, TLYONZZ. Deb, where can we find you?
At my next like Debbie on Twitter. Right there.
Perfect. And Beth, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at AugustaWind11.
Speaking of that, I need you to teach me how to Twitch stream. Bill, where can we find you?
Yeah, well, before I give my the handle out, you can see on the screen there, I just wanted to say thank you guys for having me on. It always takes a lot of nerves. Allison has asked me to talk Survivor a lot, and I've always turned her down. But because I've met so many of these players and like just love this season, I just jumped at the chance to get on this time. So thank you for having me. And Tyler, you did a great job leading the troops.
Thank you.
Ladies, it's always a pleasure. And I also wanted to say, like, shout out to everything you guys are doing for Sequester, and the conversation you have with Rob Sesternino, and the way you covered the seasons. It's just been so great, and that community is growing. So, like, on behalf of that community, like, thank you for what you guys are doing here over at My Weekly Meltdown. But I also, my Twitter handle is at Zooty McBooty. Give me a follow.
I love that Twitter handle. Anybody that missed that, definitely check out the conversation that we had with Rob Sesternino on Saturday. We got his perspective and a little bit of a deep dive into his Sequester RHAP mini that happened last week. And they have another really cool mini coming up next week. So they're going to do BBUS versus BB Can. So
I'm so excited.
2 weeks, not this Friday, but next Friday.
Right.
All right.
Not this coming Friday, but the one after. And the cast is, I think, getting revealed this Friday. So you have a week to get excited about it.
Good. I am so excited. I cannot wait. It's going to be really, really good.
Any predictions?
Of who's
For
going to be on the cast?
cast members? Yeah. I mean, I wrote out a whole list of who I thought.
It's gonna be like Cindy, Hamza, Jesse.
Jesse.
Maybe it's going to be some of the current ones that got screwed over by the.
What if like Jamar's on there?
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope it's some of the that really want to like prove themselves.
Well, I saw that
think
Suzanne.
will be
I saw
on there.
Suzanne. Oh, I would hope so. You got the inside scoop there. But I think I saw Suzanne and Michael. I know from the current season, they did retweet it. So maybe they're in the mix. That'd be amazing.
That would be cool. I could also see Brooke from BB Can 8. She's a huge super fan, so I could see her during that as well. We'll see. It's funny that
Derek
I was
Levasseur should come play because
Yep.
he's watched
Derek Levasseur. Yeah, Tyler, you would love that. Oh, that'd be awesome.
that would be cool.
Well, because he's
That
actually
would be cool.
watched part of a mini before, like a week or two ago. The one that I played in one.
I would love for Derek to go on Sequester and not do well, so that I can say, "Listen, look, I was right. He's an overrated winner."
One trick pony.
Yeah.
Can you talk about this? Is exactly why people like Michelle and Adam were so worried about their edit this season. It was because of people like Tyler.
That's true. That's true.
I know Eric Stein told Rob Sesternino, like, as he was watching the Rob as a Podcast one, that he was like interested in it, like that. So oh my God, Eric Stein! Could you imagine? I would lose. I would give everything. And for Eric Stein, I'm also thinking like maybe a Matt Hoffman could sign on. I think Ramses, because Ramses played.
Ramses.
He played on my season 11.0. Ramses Soto.
Yes, Ramses is a good one, right, Deb? So with that,
Love him.
Yeah, he's
My little snuggle bunny.
I love
There you go. All right. Well, with that being said, everybody, have a good rest of your evening. Stay safe. Wash your hands. All of that fun stuff. And we'll see you next week. All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Oh, Flyer. You see that?